How was that? How was that being directed by a woman? Like that?
It was fantastic. Yeah, I've been directed by a lot of women, so it was. She was amazing. I didn't know her prior. I'd met her, and I didn't have a lot of time to get there before, so I was just telling this other table that she was great because we didn't have a lot of prep time together. But once we got to set, we just immediately developed a shorthand and understood how each other works, and she was great. She's so excited. She has a constant great energy. You never saw her in even if things were getting stressful or whatever, just a upbeat and excited to be there, excited to be filming what we were filming. So it was nice. It was one of those nice straight offers. So I don't know exactly how it came about. I had worked with one of the producers, Stan Spry, before on a completely different project, a Hallmark movie, a feel-good summer romance movie. And so when he, called me up and said, they had this role, and I was like, okay, well, that's a different departure. Thank you for thinking of me. And I'd obviously been a fan of Greg's and his incredible work. So I read the script and it was an easy yes from there.
Can you tell us a little bit about the character you're playing?
Yes, I play Lydia Lane, who is this high-powered businesswoman, CEO, and she's giving a promotion to one of her employees, and it's like a decision between two. And she sort of maybe relishes the idea of being in the position of power, and she makes a choice, which I don't necessarily think is the wrong choice, but she made it with an element of kind of a selfish angle. And then there's an accident that ensues, and an accident, but she makes a mistake of trying to cover it up, as opposed to doing what you should do and call the cops, and that basically that's where it starts to derail. And in the process of trying to cover it up, she's stuck in an elevator when an earthquake hits, and so she's stuck for many hours in this elevator, and that's where Greg's magic starts. With the decomposition of the other character, and Lydia starting to really kind of lose her mind, and it's struggling with the idea of is this did she bring this on herself? Is she in a supernatural type situation where this is really happening, or is she just losing her mind? Is she dehydrated? Is she hit her head? Is she just lack of sleep? Being 30 hours or whatever in this and really kind of struggling with what is happening to her, and starting to really kind of lose her mind. So that's it in a nutshell. But it was sort of modeled after in Creepshow 2, The Hitchhiker, where this woman is, she hits the man on the side of the road and then makes the wrong decision, and also, and then is just struck with what is happening. He keeps appearing. Am I losing my mind? And she just completely starts to derail psychologically.
Did you have a personal love or history with the movie to itself?
I actually never seen either Creepshow or Creepshow 2. I've always kind of veered away from watching. I get scared easily. But I mean, as I'm probably older than most everyone here. I was a kid when it came out, so I didn't watch it then, and I just wasn't one like, oh, I got to go back and see. But now, having watched them, I completely understand the allure and understand what the show is about, and I really enjoyed them. So I think I'm really excited to see. I haven't seen obviously the rest of the stories here. I only know my own, But I had a lot of fun filming it, and I'm really excited to see all the other stories, see what they've brought. And I really love the angle that the Creepshow had. It, starting with a panel and having it, dissolve into and the stories, and that they're definitely a little over the top, but they're fun. They're but there's the psychological element to it. There's there's a story and a point to each one. But then it's just a lot of fun.
We're hearing that it was kind of a compressed filming schedule and getting information, so did that kind of help play into your character? Can you talk about that a little bit?
That's something more, I think, that they suffered with as opposed to me, because I was only in the one. So I think for them, it's their compressed schedule is where it really starts to wear on them, is getting that many stories, that many different characters, that many different sets and locations and everything. They're constantly changing, so they never would have had time to kind of catch up or catch their breath. But me just coming in for one, I don't really notice that. I mean, we shot everything in 3 days.
Yeah.
So it is. They were long days, but then I was out. It wasn't like I was also trying to prep for the next day's filming and it being a completely different set and a completely different character. So I think for the crew and the production of it, it was much more of a challenge for them than for me.
Can something like that help you as an actor, in that you're kind of immersed in this character for that short time? You can really give it your all.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, especially when you're on location. I mean, for me, I live in Los Angeles, and this was filmed in Atlanta. You're outside of your life anyway, so it's not like you have to go home and feed the cats and do this and do that, So, but it's pretty much like that anytime you're filming, especially television. Time is always of the essence, right? You're always short on time and things, but it does help. And for 2 of the days we were in the elevator, and so you use that kind of that pressure, that kind of like just the energy of it. You do use that. You try and channel it instead of letting it like destroy you. You try and channel it into the character and what the character's going through, and putting it in there. If you're tired, so is she, So yeah, you definitely try and channel it. But it can be exhausting. Yeah. I find it easier to do something like compressed. Not that mine was, I didn't notice it so much on the show, on location. Because you've organized to tap out of your life, and that's your only focus when you're there. And I just sort of drop off the map. So for 3 days it's easy, but if it's a longer shoot, you just sort of drop out of the life of your friends and your family and everything, and because it's just all consuming. It's a little harder to balance, actually. I like shooting at home because you do get to have a life, but it's also harder sometimes because you have more responsibilities than when you're away on location. So. Anything else?
Well, I'll ask you more questions.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's interesting, like what you're saying, just, you're having the 3 days, you're checked out, you're totally in it. With your acting, do you find that you are drawn away into other things? Like, so you're shooting a horror movie, is your brain just like there the whole time that those 3 days you're shooting? Are you just mentally in a horror movie the whole time? Do you just kind of live it a little bit, or are you able to really put that away and go and come back?
You kind of live it because at night you're studying for the next day. So even if you work a 16, 17-hour day, you get back and you only have 7 hours or whatever until you got to leave again the next morning. But you're also re-looking at yourself for the next day. So it's not like a play where you've had months of prep time and you're all, because on day one when the play opens, you have to have the entire play done, right? So you have all that prep time. And maybe in some big blockbuster movies, you have a lot of prep time. But in television, it's like that. So a lot of the times, like with Van Helsing, for instance, I was offered the role, and like within a few days, you're up there filming or something. I think I had more time with that, but many times it's like all of a sudden, bang, you're gone. So a lot of your prep time is your immediate prep time, and you also don't I don't memorize the entire script before I start. It's much more kind of day, and everybody works different, but I have a good basis for it. I've broken down the script, I've worked on it all, but the night before is really when you cement the lines for the next day in. So you do live it because you're there, you're just focused on, but it might be for the next day. So you try and let some stuff go, but you're pretty much in it for the whole time. Yeah. Like I don't, even if it's a longer project, when I'm filming, I don't read. Like I'm not one that'll pick up a novel because I just can't get immersed into another story. So I can watch the news, but I don't even really watch like a show or something. It's not like I binge if it's a weekend and I have some time and I'll binge something. I don't do that. I'll watch something like this, I'll watch the news or whatever, but then I just stay my headspace in the story. Even if I'm not physically in it thinking about it, I can't open my mind up to another story or another world, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's interesting. It's interesting to hear about the process of that. So I'm hearing the elevator and that you're kind of confined. So not a whole lot of stunts, not a whole lot of action, just real focus, just real character driven.
There actually was some stunts.
Okay.
More than what, I mean, it's on the page, but it's because while I'm in the elevator, the reason I'm in the elevator for so long is because we have an earthquake. And so the elevator gets stuck. And then but there was also throughout the time that I'm locked away, there's also an aftershock or two. So there's the elevator dropping, which was not practical, obviously. And the elevator shaking, so I'm throwing myself across the elevator and slamming into walls and hitting my head on and so I was pretty battered and bruised after 2 days of flailing around and you're also in this, it's heightened at that point, and she starts to decompose, and then her eyes will come open and you're screaming and you're flying, you're scrambling away from her and you're slamming your head into the wall, and so there was quite a bit of that actually. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was pretty physical. My knees were completely bruised from being on my knees as well, trying to crawl around the elevator and find my phone, and of course there's no reception, and then trying to climb out of the top of the elevator, push it open to try and climb it and get away, right? And falling down and getting knocked out, and I didn't get knocked out. So yeah, there actually was quite a bit of sense.
Okay.
Yeah, and poor Celia